day. Wednesday morning, a little bit dusty. My buddy from the UK is still he's been here with me for like 2 weeks. He is what you call a digital nomad, so he runs his own company from his laptop doing finances and basically being the middleman for angel investors, guys with a lot of money who look to invest in other companies. And my buddy does all of financial layouts, financial projections, that sort of thing. So he's still here. He leaves tomorrow. So he's been here for 2 weeks. One of my closest mates, been friends with him for years, but you know, at this stage of the game, I'm used to living by myself. So it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but we're getting through it. What do we got a lot going on today. I'm gonna be going live one more time today. We have the so many boxing fights coming up. We have the Pro Box card. We have Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the card. And so I'm going to leave this open to any questions going forward towards the weekend. We also have MMA today. So there's Dana White Contender Series. It's UFC. And that card starts in about 3 hours. In our Discord, I already gave you my 4-leg parlay. There's 5 fights, and they do it, I think, for 8 weeks in a row. So this is week 1 of 8, I'm pretty sure. I know for a fact it's week 1. I'm just not quite sure how long they go. Last year, before I was featuring these fights, I won a lot of money on these fights. Now, I know a lot of you guys, a lot of us just bet boxing, but there are a lot of MMA bettors who sprinkle themselves in our live streams. Follow my channel, follow my Instagram and the Discord. So if you have any questions, just keep me posted. And we'll get this started. What's up, GOAT? I'm only telling the Mangoes fight. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so we got the boys boxing fan. Let's make this the strongest live yet. Yeah, guys, as soon as you tap in, let's like the video. I like where boxing fans' heads at. GOAT, what's up? I'm telling you on the Mangoes fight, have no clue. Okay, so Mangoes is a MMA fighter out of Sydney, Australia. Only has about 6 pro fights. A lot of potential, a lot of hype. The people in the know in the Australian MMA scene are liking him to other UFC champions who have come through the amateur scene down here, such as Robert Whitaker, Volkanovski, Jack Della Maddalena, that sort of talent. So far, he looks the part. We'll see. This Contender Series is awesome to kind of like figure out where these regional guys stand. There have been a few guys to come through who became world champions. Jamal Hill was a Contender Series guy. Jack Della Maddalena was a Contender Series guy who became a world champion. I think there might have been one more. Let's get to hit the like. Dwayne in the house. Appreciate you. Aaron Gianella. I like the under 2.5 main event. Pedro, what's up? Yo, Johnny, what are your thoughts on Caleb Plant versus DFG? Mate, is that legit? I like that fight. I like that fight for both guys, actually. It's a good shout. Hand History Vault, good afternoon, everyone. History, good afternoon, good morning to our fellow Aussies. Nick Ball by TKO. I know a lot of people in my ethos are kind of leaning with Sam Goodman. I'm taking Nick Ball. Right now, I have Nick Ball as a lock on one parlay. So today's my Wednesday morning. After the UFC today, I'm going to post my first parlay in the Discord. I'm going to give you my long parlay. I'm just waiting for my book to give me options on the Pro Box card. There's a couple locks on that card that I really like. We do know that I announced this in our Discord yesterday that Andrew Maloney is not fighting, but Argy Cortez is. Cortez has a late replacement opponent. We'll see if we get options on that fight. So for now, I'm going to give you my locks of the week. I have a 3-leg lock, and I'll post that in the Discord. What's up, DJ Green? Appreciate you. PB&C. I think Goodman can pull up. PB&C, there's a path to victory for Goodman to pull up the upset. And initially last week, I was agreeing with you. And I'm not disagreeing with you. He can pull up the upset. I just don't think he has the artillery to keep the style that is Nick Ball off of him for 12 rounds. I just don't see it happening. Christian Morales, my guy, Sydney, Australia, in the house. Pedro, I just thought about it. John Magana, what's up, fellas? What's up, boys? Johnny, who's your locks for the Contender Series? So, Magana, I put those up in our Discord. So, I'm doing a 4-leg in the Discord. It pays about plus 550. Sal's Block Talk. What's up, buddy? Let's go, Johnny. I work 30 minutes, left the gym. Also, White getting starch. I think so too. Ball on points and Ford possibly stoppage. Yeah. So Sal's given us his method of victory bets, and I like all three. For now, like I said, my 3 money line. I definitely feel comfortable on the money line so far because I'm gonna wait until the odds kind of simmer down a bit to give you my method of victory picks. But I like Hergovich on the money line, Raymond Ford on the money line, and Nick Ball on the money line. It's if I had to pick one upset in Saudi, it might be at heavyweight, to be honest with you, either fight. I know that people are really falling in love with the romantic pick of Goodman upsetting Ball. I don't know. I don't see it. If anything, I could see one of the heavyweights, and I'm not predicting this, but because they're heavyweights, one punch could change everything. But I'm not picking. I don't see really an upset I'm happy with that I'm comfortable with going into Saudi. Goat says, I know the people who bought tickets to that fight are pissed. Fight got pushed back a week, and now they aren't even going to see. Yeah, and Malone, the Maloney fight got scratched. They changed the venue a couple times. I guess in terms of contracts, there was a bunch of fuckery going on. One of my insiders down here in Sydney, he's a freelance videographer for Fight Hype. I told you about him before. Travels, and I reached out to him, and I shared that message thread on our Discord and our Instagram, and I said, is Maloney fighting? And he he reached out to him and said, well, considering Andrew's in Australia, he's definitely not fighting. And then he told me why. Pedro O'Malley, the guy you're thinking of. I think so. Perfect. So Pedro O'Malley, that's 3, right? O'Malley, JDM, and Jamal Hill all came from the contender, became world champions. Julius Goodman gonna stick and move, but won't get. Julius, I agree. And the more you tape you watch on Sammy Boy, and I'm a Sam fan, you know what I mean? I like the way he operates. Like I said, if he had a little bit more pop in both hands, even just maybe his backhand, he just, in my opinion, I don't think he has enough snap to handle Ball's pressure for 12 rounds. Because the thing about Goodman is, it's not like he's a mover. It's not like he uses the entire ring the entire time. He'll stand in front of you, and he relies a lot on his slickness and his timing to get out of the way of danger. Muscles in the house checking in, my guy. I'm gonna message you in a bit, Muscles, after this live stream. Brenda, I got my bets on the Contender Series, but I'm using Sportsbet. Evie in the house. I'm changing my pick. Goodman just doesn't have that pop. Yeah. Pedro Cabrales, Hergovich on points might be the lock. So Pedro, as of now, I'm not, like I said, I'm gonna wait to give my method of victory, but I think Hergovich on the money line's a lock. He can keep Ball at the end of his punches. Sam, good for the win. Muscles tapping in. Merch, Money Meech, yer. Grand Prix tomorrow. Are any of you guys getting options on the Grand Prix? GMS put on the elect. You think Ball more likely to stop him or go the distance? So I've seen Sammy Boy fight live in person his last 4 fights. I was at the Reese Aleem fight. I was at the Cesar Vaca fight. I was at the TJ Dahani fight. The way he's gonna operate, he's gonna want to win rounds. He's gonna want to counter. He's gonna want to use his jab. The issue with that is he was able to outbox all those guys and outmaneuver. I think a prime TJ beats Sam Goodman, to be honest with you. By the time TJ fought Sam, I think TJ was 36, 37. I think a 24-year-old TJ Dahani would have beat Sam Goodman. TJ had good moments against Inoue until he had a back injury. He wasn't winning the fight, but he had good moments. And TJ's a former world champion. It's a good scalp on Goodman's record on his resume, beating him. Under 1.5 knockdowns on Ball on Goodman. That might be the play. Socks in the house. Appreciate you. Socks with the teal blue star. So you guys, boys in the chat, see all the boys with the stars next to their name? They are Johnny Says Boxing Insiders on YouTube. They're members. What that membership allows you to do is get more accessibility on our YouTube channel, but more importantly, join our Discord community. And there you're going to see professional bettors, all of the parlays, become part of our Discord. That link is in the comment section. It's a couple bucks a month. Grand Prix is at 9 a.m. Sweden if the time is correct, but bad timing for the U.S. Yeah, I'm not getting any options on the Grand Prix. Dwayne, salute, going to work. See you tomorrow. Appreciate you, Dwayne Styles, for tapping in. Koki, salute, my man. Appreciate you tapping in. Muscle says, correct me if I'm wrong. Goodman never been knocked down before. I'd have to look in. The fights I've seen him, he wasn't dropped. You got to remember too. Take what you want about the fight being at 126, but Sam fought Vaca. He weighed in at 123 for that fight, and he's not really a thick dude. He doesn't really have a thick torso. Doesn't carry a lot of weight. He'll be the smaller guy for sure. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Nick Ball does if he has any sort of game plan. Sometimes I watch Nick Ball, and it's kind of like, does he even have a game plan? It's similar to kind of like William Zepeda's style. Not similar fight styles, but when you watch Zepeda fight, it's like he just presents this front foot attack, barrage, offense, approach, and you kind of like, with all that, it gets lost. He just tries to do that against everyone. Versus a guy like a technician, kind of like a Jermaine Ortiz or even a Terrence Crawford who, will present a game plan. So that is my knock on Nick Ball. And I'm not one of these guys who tell you that I don't think Nick Ball's a top 10 pound for pound guy. I just think that style is going to be too much for Sam Goodman right now. What happened? Goat says, Johnny, what happened? I thought you were a bit high on Goodman to the tape. Yeah, so I'm still high on Sam Goodman. When I was rewatching the film tape on him, it wasn't about me not being high on Goodman, which made me flip-flop. It was more about the styles, Goat. It was more about seeing what Nick Ball brings into the ring and how he operates and how he, over time, is successful with the style versus how Sam Goodman operates. I just don't – it's hard for me to pick Goodman without having this – how does he can't keep Ball off of him without Ball – respecting anything coming back. So Ball's not going to respect anything coming back. What is Sam Goodman's plan B? Is he going to rely on his feet? I don't think he's not going to be the more athletic guy. He's not going to be the quicker guy. He's not going to be the bigger guy. He's not going to be the stronger guy. So when I'm doing my deductive reasoning on pros and cons, how does fighter A win? How does fighter B win? Mate, it's hard. Goodman can go in there. Maybe he, fills out nicely at 26. Adds pop, lands some of those uppercuts, keeps Ball at bay for 12 rounds, and boxes his ass off. I think for Sam Goodman to win, he's going to have the fight of his life. He's going to have to be perfect in these exchanges. He's going to have a game plan in which, early in each round, he's going to have to set the jab up, and he's going to have to win the last 20 seconds of every round. I just don't see him having the power to be able to do that. That would be my game plan if I was Goodman in his corner. We'll see if he's able. That's a tough game plan to implement, especially if you really aren't known to be able to crack. Julius Ford versus Nova ending early. Julius, what's up, buddy? Koki in the house. Adu, morning, Big J. Goodman gets cuts, but has never been stopped because of cuts. The cuts. Yeah, I think the cuts narrative, Adu, is only there because of what happened with the Inoue fight. And I think he got cut against Vaca. It might have been from a headbutt too, but down here and watching him, it's never been a narrative. You know what I'm saying? I've only heard this Goodman gets cut thing the last few weeks on YouTube. I don't think it's going to play in the factor. And it's out of our control, boys. You know what I mean? Like, we can't control that. I don't even think something like that. Now, if he was like a guy notoriously with having a lot of scar tissue, you might think about it. But we just watched a guy, I forget who it was. No, Amanda Serrano. Amanda's fight just a couple weeks ago against Katie Taylor, that was kind of one of the things about, she had that cut right here in the last fight, and everybody was saying that it's such a bad place, it's going to reopen, etc., and it wasn't a factor. The chat's going off, boys. So, guys, the chat's been going off. If you guys want... It's tough for me to get to everybody's comments, so either, the super chat helps or the blue star. If you guys are Discord members, I could see your comments, but it's going like this now. And that's a kudos to you boys. EV44 says Ball is such a small target. Also at Ball is he has no body, right? His easy here. And Goodman's not a known body puncher, so it's not like Goodman's gonna, Ball is susceptible to body rips. Ball does what he wants to do in there. That's one thing. Hate him or love him, Ball is a boxer to where he's so stringent on his plan of attack, his game plan, that he's going to operate how he operates. I mean, he's going to get beat. I don't see him retiring at the end of the day, at the end of his career, being sort of like this invincible guy. I just don't think Goodman is the guy to beat him. That style he has is definitely beatable. To beat that style, you're gonna have to, like I said, long jab power though. Physical him up in the pocket. Don't let him bully you. Rip the body, then go up top, and then also punch with him. This is another thing. If Sammy Boy, we're gonna see if Sammy Boy punches with him, and if he punches with him, then I think he's gonna run the risk of getting dropped. So, the knockdown prop over and under could be in play as well. It's something to think about. All the boys tapping in. Julius says Nova is not coming to survive. He's coming for the knockout four. Nova will exchange. I think so as well. I think Raymond Ford is going to be too much for Nova. I think Nova's going to present an opportunity for Raymond Ford to go viral. Another one of these great matchups, in my opinion. What's Ray Ford kind of missing? I thought Ray Ford was going to get his viral moment against Thomas Matisse. It didn't happen. Matisse didn't play that game. Matisse didn't punch with him. Matisse kind of, for a guy with like an 80% knockout to win ratio and a nickname called the Gunman, Matisse kind of, moved the entire time, didn't want to do any of the exchanges, and Ford did what he had to do. Nova, everything we've heard from Nova, he said he's not going to do that. So I think Nova will present a great opportunity for Ford to have a great stoppage. We'll see if that happens. How many knockouts Goodman have? Stop counting them out. I think Goodman has 8 knockouts. Heaven sent Pedro Cabrales. Wouldn't you say that TJ Donnie wouldn't want if it wasn't for him quitting? Muscle Brown Julius, who you got for Nova? Dean Jackson, don't count him out as the same dude who ducked anyway twice. Koki, yeah, Johnny, your channel getting popular. You're getting regulars from other YouTube channels. I know it's a lot of ring IQ. Appreciate you, Koki. We're growing. The channel's turning into a place. If the one thing you boys could always expect, nobody's 100% with their predictions. The one thing you could always expect, though, I'm never going to give you clickbait takes. I'm never going to give you unauthentic perspectives. This is a boxing channel. This is, the sport that I was introduced as a boy. I come from a boxing town. I watched Ray Boom Boom Mancini fight in a baseball stadium in my hometown of Youngstown when I was 6 years old, 1988. I was at my first boxing gym as a 7-year-old. So to your point, Kogi, it's why I started the channel, to create a space for people who love the sport of boxing and can have a conversation about it when we don't have to agree. PJ, PJ and I probably agree every third week, but he knows he's welcomed here, and he knows that you can leave your emotions at the door. We don't have to agree with everything. Julius, I could see a path for Ford winning by knockout. Pedro could have, but I doubt they would have given it to him. Muscle Brown, I got Ford. I got Ford too. Ford is Muscle Brown. Throw that parlay in the Discord, big fella. Muscles is secretive though. I understand. Muscles is boys. If you're new to the chat, Muscle Brown is one of our professional bettors. He makes a living off of this. He shares his parlays. He's a guy that, if we find like a $1.52 bet per se, like a 2-leg $1.52, Muscles historically has been one of these guys that'll throw like 20K on it, 50K on it. So 50,000 on $1.50 would get you your money back plus 25,000. And this is the type of guy, this is the type of bettor he is. So when he answers the chat, the boys tend to listen. Julius Hergovich. Kane, what's up, Kane, my man? Kane, I got your message on Insta. Kane has the amateurs coming up. I'm going to get you 100%, Kane. I'm putting priority on that message. I'm going to get back to you with some strength and conditioning programming, So I got that email to read. Also, boys, Mike Tyler TV. I'm going to announce Mike Tyler TV is a member in our Discord. He's a member in the chat. You'd recognize Mike Tyler TV on the chat. I don't know if he's in this live. He's a pro fighter named Tyler Christopher out of the UK. He's 10-0 on BoxRec, and Tyler has a fight September 6th against a tough fellow Brit who went the distance with a kid who fought Joshua Kelly. We covered on the channel. Anyway, I'm gonna prop up Tyler Christopher's fight. So if you ever see him on the chat, you see him in the Discord, give him a follow. 10-0, professional. We know how hard it is to go pro in anything, especially boxing. So every fight for Tyler is going to be the biggest fight of his career. So if you see him, give him kind of a what's up and a support. I'm going to feature his fight on the channel. Julius, my spicy pick is plus 400 forward, 7-12. Okay. Ituama 1-6. Yeah, there's a. This is the risk, boys. This is where the bettors, when you really start dissecting risk versus reward in gambling on boxing, obviously the bigger reward comes with the better odds. Also with that comes the bigger risk. So when we're talking about method of victory, Ituama 1-6, he only went. He's only gone to the 6th round once, I think, in his 3rd pro fight. As of late, Ituama hasn't left the 2nd round. This is a 12-round fight. He's fighting a guy, Dillian White, old veteran. Dillian's 37, but Dillian's 3 losses, he got stopped 3 times. So it's kind of like which one. I don't see this fight going the distance. So if you wanted to play the safest bet of White versus Ituama, will the fight go the distance? No, I think you're only getting $1.15. Even, if you're going to pick sides, Ituama on the money line is only $1.09. So this is where, you add a little bit of risk picking the round stoppage or method of victory, but you're adding more reward as well. Does anyone see Ituama getting caught with White's left hook? He can. Jazz says, what do you make of White's weight loss? He's looking ripped. Jazz, it's an interesting point. I brought this up yesterday on the 2nd live stream, that sometimes when, especially older heavyweights, historically, we've seen them come in during fight week looking ready, prepared, ripped. The optic, though, I don't think it equates to anything really changing. I was talking to an old timer the other day about this. He was comparing what Dillian White looks like to Muhammad Ali. I guess if you go back and find the footage of Ali during fight week against Larry Holmes, we know how that fight played out, but the media leading up all fight week was all high on Ali and how great he looked and how his body looked better than it had been in 10 years. And, that's just because the body looks a certain way, the resiliency, the durability, the mind, the reaction, the speed, the timing, the power, all that you have to take in consideration. Julia says another spicy pick is Hrgovic versus Adelaide at N1-6. I like it. Adu, I'm sticking with Hrgovic money line, even though I think he'll get the knockout. Heaven sent, we may see something in the workout tomorrow. Yeah, Heaven sent presents an interesting perspective that I always talk about. Especially with the heavyweights, I always tap into the media workouts, the weigh-ins for sure. All you guys, if you guys are betting your hard-earned cash, whether you're big bettors or just entertainment bettors, I like to say, somebody who bets a little bit just to, add a little bit of intrigue for the fight, definitely watch the fight week footage. Definitely watch how they carry themselves with the media. Definitely watch how they look during the weight cut. Because body language, when you ask, my undergrad was in sports psychology. So one of an important preference is nonverbal communication in any element of sport, whether it's an athlete rehabbing an injury, let's say a quarterback had season-ending knee surgery and he's going through his rehabilitation and the months pass and he's back with the team. There's going to be sports psychologists and coaches who are watching him from afar just to see what his gait is like, how he's carrying himself, his body language, his posture. So all of that stuff I take into when I'm watching the weigh-ins, when I'm watching fight week, I'm seeing how a guy carries himself. And every now and then you'll see instances of like, yeah, we saw that coming. We saw that in the weigh-ins. We saw that in media. We saw that in fight week. And I really haven't liked Dillian White's body language the last few times I've seen him speak on camera. That's all I'm saying. Not necessarily what he said, but kind of like how he's carrying himself. 37 years old. He's had a long career. I think he knows what time it is. I think he knows why he's there. Just remember though, Moses is an Olympian. He is an Olympian. He is an Olympian. And we know what's happened lately with the Olympians being rushed. We've seen it happen a couple times. We haven't seen it at heavyweight, but we've seen it in the lighter weight classes. I hate beating a dead horse. Galal Yafai, Albert Badargaziev. Was it too much too soon? I think in both of their cases, one had 10 pro fights, the other had 11 pro fights. What's Moses have? Moses has 12 pro fights. He's only 20. It's something you got to think about. If you're playing the statistics game, it has to be something on your mind. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, Kataev. Cash out for White. Dillian White looks already defeated. Good mind games. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's somebody hit the super chat. I didn't even get notified. Whoever hit that super chat, man, I appreciate it. Usually you too. Oh, there we go. Boxing fan with the super chat. My guy. Guessing any upsets this weekend in boxing or USC. Boxing fan, to answer that question, any upsets this weekend in boxing or UFC? It's tough for me in boxing, mate, to see an upset. I guess. Yeah, boxing, man. You know what? Ask me that question tomorrow, because I want to see if we get the pro box odds, and I want to see, if we're getting options to bet on some of the other fights in the UFC. Though, I'm not taking any underdogs today in the Contender Series fights, but I'm gonna pull up the fights because there's a pay-per-view event this weekend. Now, I was telling Muscles, because Muscles messaged me, because word spreads fast in the betting community, especially when you hit 21 wins in a row in anything. I hit 21 straight from 2 weeks ago to last week in the UFC. All those parlays are put up in our Discord. Muscles hits me up asking me about locks in the UFC, and I told him I only usually bet though on UFC fight nights, not pay-per-views, because of the word parity, Parity. The pay-per-views are usually, these fight cards are the best in the world, guys. So they're kind of like there isn't a lot that separates them. So if I'm looking at right now, to answer your question, Brian Battle is one of my favorite fighters. Brian Battle's a kid who came through the Ultimate Fighter reality show. I think he either fought Tresean Gore in the final. I know he beat him. And he's had a great start to his career. He might have one loss, maybe two losses. We've seen him really get his body in shape, really change his mindset. This guy used to call himself Pooh Bear, and now he's known as the Butcher. Talk about a psychological shift. Very fun guy to watch. If you like bloodshed, if you like a guy who's going to go out on a sword, Brian Battle's your guy. Young enough. People around him says that he's ticking all the boxes to potentially be a world champion. Some of his holes in his game, though, is you kind of see the greenness in some of his decision making, and he's been able to get away with it thus far in terms of putting himself in danger in certain situations, whether on the feet or on the ground. He is fighting a very, very tough guy in Rubayev. And right now, Ruzabayev is the dog. Battle's $1.59. Ruzabayev's $2.38. So as of now, I think Battle should be on upset alert, but boxing fan, the closer we get to the weekend, I'll post that in the Discord. Thoughts on UFC going on non-pay-per-view on Paramount? Pedro Battle was a heavyweight when he started his career at 70, which is nuts. Yeah, a lot of that Pedro was just figuring out the weight cut and figuring out, he was on the regional scene. He wasn't 100% in on his MMA career, so he was working a job. So it's kind of like Jared Cannonier. Cannonier was a heavyweight as well when he was on the regional scene in Alaska. But a lot of that was, he was a cop and, wasn't. It's tough to be a pro athlete, man. It's tough to be a pro fighter. There's boxers that we know who are champions in smaller weight classes who have to have full-time jobs because they're not getting paid much. So the weight disparation in those two examples was an example of, not really being able to go full on, not having the money to hire a nutritionist, a strength and conditioning coach, all this stuff. But yeah, Battle's right where he needs to be. It's going to be a great fight. I had a hard time understanding the MMA lock on the Discord with the picks on the tech. Okay, so was it last week, EV, or the fights today? Because they were highlighted. I'll repost them today, mate. Because the fights start in 2 hours, EV. I'll post them how in my normal fashion. Brian Battle, great on the mic. Also, his fight against Lusa had a crazy ending. His past fight recalls. Yeah, fun fighter. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. Henry, Johnny, Big Dog. Who you like in the heavyweight slugfest? Dave Allen versus... Dude, what a great fight, man. Makhmudov. So every time, Henry, every time I bet on Dave Allen, the White Rhino, whether I bet for him or against him, I lose. My heart is with Dave Allen now, you know, seeing a guy in his mid-30s who, you know, overachiever, you know, watching how he stopped Johnny Fisher, watching the trap he set on Johnny Fisher, you know, a veteran in the heavyweight division who's been stopped before, fighting an up-and-comer for the second time, you know, that little trap he did on the ropes and, you know, not showing a lot of volume and then catching Fisher coming in, beautiful knockout, finally getting paid nicely, finally getting, you know, some of the flowers that everybody in the know, at least in the UK boxing scene, the heavyweight scene, everything, you know, I've heard about Dave Allen has been great things. Family guy, you know, fun Instagram follow. I'm probably not going to bet on that fight. I'm going to watch that fight as a fan. You know, we don't have to always bet on every fight. I'll break the fight down. Is Ruzabayev better than Randy Brown? Because Battle should... Yeah, and Rude Boy, the thing about Rude Boy Randy Brown, been watching him since he came up years ago, is that Randy Brown struggles with coming back from the dead. You know, the whole analogy, hammer and nail analogy. When Randy Brown is up, when Randy Brown is cooking, boy, when he starts, you know, getting into his flow, he's one of the best in the world. But when he has to start making, you know, going from plan A to plan B to plan C, that's where that's where his downfall is. Ruzabayev is much more, what's the word, balanced in his approach. He executes a game plan. He doesn't really care what his opponent is doing. He's going to go about his work similar to a heavy grappling style. You know, when you'd watch like Khabib Nurmagomedov go about his work, when you'd watch T.J. Dillashaw go about his work, they have a specific style that they don't care what their opponent's doing. They don't care about the film study. They're going after their game plan to get to the finishing point. Excited MVP, curious, yeah. I think Cannonier's game plan is going to be just getting MVP's grill. Yeah, that's a fun fight. Cannonier's a big underdog, which is kind of surprising to me. Johnny, I know you're not big on Turkey. How you feel about Dana? GOAT. I always talk about Dana White, one of the greatest. I said this yesterday. From a business perspective, GOAT. From an entrepreneurial perspective, you know, I work for myself. I'm solely reliant on, you know, things I do, my hustle, my flow for my livelihood. So I respect entrepreneurs like Dana. One of the biggest steals in American business history. He bought the UFC on $1 million loan from Lorenzo Fertitta and his brother in 2002, 2003. He had gone from the boxing world in Boston, got ran out of Boston from being a boxing promoter, saw, you know, a gap in the market in MMA, got $1 million investment, and then in 2015, he sold it for, I think, $4 billion, and then he just made the deal 2 days ago for $7 billion. So from that side of things, you can't hate on him. Probably one of the greatest promoters of all time in combat sports history. I don't even think that's an argument. How do I feel about him? It's not my position to judge a man on a personal level. I've never hung out with him. I don't know him. So I'll just leave it at that. The way, you know, if I had to compare him how I'm hard on Turkey, at least Dana was part of the furniture. Dana is the reason MMA on a global scale is where it is. Turkey came out of nowhere. We know what Turkey's doing. Turkey's sports washing. Turkey's part of the Saudi. Yeah, you know my take on that. I don't want to get too deep into that on this live stream. Henry also argue Cortez beats. No, Maloney, that fight's off. Maloney's in Australia. He's out. They do have a late replacement with Argy Cortez though. You, PJ, you should at least give us 2 money line picks on YouTube page. I am PJ. I'm gonna give you my I'm gonna give the Dana White Contender Series picks. And PJ, I always give you my long money line. I always do that, big dog. On the YouTube channel, I always give you my long parlay for everybody, and I give you my UFC picks for everybody. But PJ, you got to give me until tomorrow or the next day because I'm waiting on the pro box fights. Julia says, yeah, Yenis Tellis is fighting next week. I like that fight. Rabadnov is fighting Alfie Davies. That's a good fight. Mike Ross. Baron Rodriguez is replacing Maloney. Boxing fan, keep them going. Boxing fan, come on, get the 42 people. We're going between 40 and 60. 22 likes, let's get those up. That helps the channel, helps the growth. NG MMA, don't know much on Goodman. Was going to study him for his anyway fight prior to cancellation. He saw enough to go the distance. Yeah, I like ball on the money line. Ranver, Johnny Cash, Raymond Ford, Ituama, Chimaev, parlay. Love it. Get after it, brother. Henry Williams, thank you. Vault makes sense. Heaven sent. Jeff Neal versus Pradas is insane. Yeah, I think I'm high on Jeff Neal. People are sleeping on Jeff Neal. Carlos Prates is a lot of hype, great fighter. I think doesn't Pradas come out of that Brazilian gym, the Fighting Nerds? Jeff Neal, man, hands of steel Neal, man. Nice southpaw out of Texas. Jeff Neal's world class. People sleep on him. He hasn't really had the trajectory we thought he was going to have with his career. He had some out of the, octagon issues. He had some health issues, but he's dangerous. Barral will surprise people. This might be the most stacked card this year in MMA. It is a stacked card. Money Meats. Johnny threw some pieces on Mangoes. Let's do it. Mangoes is good, bro. Mangoes is our guy. I went heavy on Mangoes as well. The juice is in the fruit. Join the Discord. Yeah, the Neil 100%, guys. We're about 38 minutes in. I'm going to stay on as long as you guys keep popping in. Let me know if you guys are getting... We could talk about method of victory real quick because it's already Wednesday. Are you getting options, guys, on your props for Saudi, the boxing? Because I do have a little sneaky method of victory. A little four-legger. I was going to run it by you guys. Does anybody see Hrgovic winning on points? So if you like Hrgovic on points, he's at $2. He's at $2.05 right now. I'm just because in the background I'm building my method. I always do a method of victory parlay. So Hrgovic on points is $2.05. I could see Raymond Ford stopping Nova. It sounds insane. And I might be getting honey-dicked with these odds. But right now, Raymond Ford to stop or win by TKO is $3.08. And then, like we talked about, Nick Ball and Sammy Goodman, the fight to go the distance, $2.23. So I have a four-leg method of victory. I'll just share it with you guys. It's 15-1. What do you guys think about this? I'll give it to you right now, and if you're joining the live, you could write it down. It's 15-1. I put this bet in on Saturday night. Didn't go heavy on it, right? $100 on this gets you your money back. It's 17-1 plus 1,000. You're gonna get over 1,000, almost $2,000 on this. So what you got is, if you put 100 on this, you'll get 1,700 back. Hrgovic on points or decision. Raymond Ford by knockout or TKO. Nick Ball and Goodman, will the fight go the distance? Yes. Moses Ituama by knockout or TKO. On the same ticket, 17-1. $10. $10 gets you $170. These are far from locks, but like I said, earlier in the live stream when the boys are getting sexy with their method of victory picks, I do this as well. Now, these aren't the picks that I'm gonna bet 10 grand on or 5 grand on or even 1,000 on, But these, $100 for the 17-1 return, if it hits, it's a good return. Heaven sent. Wardley knocked out Adelaide. Does Hrgovic got enough power to tap Adelaide's chin, and does Adelaide has a soft body? EV440Z, ref is going to stop the forward match. I think so, EV. The more we talk about this, the more we talk about EV, Ford and Nova, I'm thinking about going super heavy on the stoppage at 3-1. Rando Light, haven't seen you in the live in a while. Like the video, jabronis. That's OG WWF before the WWE. That's The Rock, right? He used to say, jabroni, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. Dude, OG Rock was off the hook, man. It doesn't matter what you say. Randvar, put 10K in Ray Ford. I'm talking about, nice, dude. Randvar. Okay, you're talking money line, but Randvar, you put 10K on Ray Ford to win by stoppage, you get 30K. Does anybody feel comfortable with betting the house on Raymond Ford by stoppage? I got Muscles texting me on the down low. If Muscles is in this chat, I want him to sell me on it. Randall, I've been working different hours. Yeah, Randall, I see you popping in and out. You're a beast, subscriber, loyal. Okay, so History Vault doesn't see the stoppage. Not even with Nova's style and his prediction of being on the front foot. Okay, guys. Then, if the boys don't collectively like Ford by stoppage, what is your go-to method of victory for this weekend? Muscles. All right, Muscles. If you had to pick one method of victory, not saying it's going to be your lock, but just off the top right now, of the Hrgovic fight, Ray Ford fight, Ball fight, and Ituama fight, what is your lock method of victory this weekend? Because right now, as I'm looking, I don't know why I like Raymond Ford at 3-1 by stoppage or TKO. I remember I put thousands on Pacquiao. I was at that fight, mate. I was at Pacquiao Horn up in Queensland. I had just moved to Australia. You know who else was on that undercard? I went to see Shane Mosley Jr., and Mosley Jr. lost on that undercard too. Muscles, what's up? I could see it, but not comfortable. What would you stress more for? Hrgovic to win by points at 2-1? Or Ford to win by knockout at 3-1? Muscles, guys, write this down. My lock is Moses fight not to go the distance. I like Ball and Goodman under 1.5. And Ford, ooh, that's set. What does that pay, big dog? What are those odds? Moses fight not to go. I think that's what, $1.18. I like Ball and Goodman under 1.5. I'm not getting the knockdown, so I don't know that. And Ford on the money line right now, I got Ford at $1.13. So you're probably sitting at what, even money there? Are you 1-1 with those odds, or maybe $1.70? What are you getting for that, for those three? I might tell you on that because I'm up from the UFC last weekend. I kept that little 9-legger in my little account. But guys, also remember 112. Nice, dude. Let's go. Remember, guys, if you're gambling just for entertainment and you're not gambling, Muscles. This is his career. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. If your winnings could pay a bill, take it out the account. So if you're one of these guys and you're just doing it for entertainment, you love boxing, it adds a little bit. One of my clients says, Johnny, I gamble because I like the pump. He's my buddy who we were ringside during the Sam Goodman Vaca fight. He put 1,000 on my bets and won 22K. He didn't tell me until after, and that's what was his response. I'm like, Luke, why the hell would you bet that? He goes, Johnny, I like the pump. So if that, you don't have to go 1,000, $10. $20, $50. If your winnings could pay a bill in any way, your phone bill, electricity, rent, take it out. Because the last thing you ever want to do is learn from your mistakes. Say you leave like 2,500 in there and you put it all on like a lock and your lock loses. Nobody likes that feeling. That's salty. I do almost even money. Ranvar, I say we stick strictly on the money line, but yeah. Yeah, but Ranvar, for the channel, I always do my money line locks, method of victory, long parlays. We've added the UFC to the game. So I'm just kind of brainstorming with the boys. Rando Light, did you discuss the contender? Rando, I put my picks in the Discord, bro. So Rando, go to the Discord, click on MMA thread, and you'll see my picks. It's a 4-legger. It's plus 550 on the money line. Those fights go down in an hour and a half, I think. Fresh BX, ain't nothing like watching your money made in real time. Ain't that the truth, Fresh? Aaron, what's up? Bet what you're 100%. Wilmer in the house. DJ, I'm sick. I couldn't bet last week and I was in Florida. Sometimes, DJ, our best victories are the ones we don't bet on. You know what I'm saying? So it could be a blessing in disguise. Florida doesn't sound too bad, though. Dude, degenerates. Copy. Degenerates. Degens. Best bet is no bet. Yeah, so like if you don't get the bet in, it's because nobody bets thinking they're ever going to lose. So when you don't get to bet, you think you're going to win. But I think the correct or healthy framework would be, you know, it's not that I'm pissed I didn't get the bet. I would then say, oh, I took the day off. I had a sick day. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that mental framework long term is, you know, could go a long way. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel you on it. Like, there's been times in my past where there's been like an English card in the UK, and I'm here in Sydney, and this card started at 2 a.m. and I wake up at 5 a.m. and I missed the bets I wanted, and I'm like, damn it, I wanted to bet on that fight, and then I'll see if they, and then sometimes you fact check yourself, and you're like, damn, I'm glad I didn't bet on that fight. That dude lost, so. Nova not looking good. I know. I'm thinking, boys, I'm going Raymond by stoppage. 3-1 or 3 plus 300. Any pick on Billy versus Lester. Ooh, I love that fight, Henry Williams. Do you guys know about that fight, guys? Canelo Crawford undercard. Christian McBilly, Lester Martinez, world title fight, 68. We're going to see if Lester's for real, but mate, like Bomac sold me on Lester like a year ago. Bomac's in our boxing group on Facebook. John, it used to be called Boxing News Today when we had 115,000 members. YouTube or Facebook, without warning, took my page down. I started a new one. It's Johnny Says Boxing. We're at about 37,000 members. And last year, Bomac was, maybe 2 years ago, people are high on Lester Martinez. We'll see if he's the real deal. Are you guys getting odds on Lester versus Christian right now? I'd like to know those. Can't wait. Dude, and people are sleeping on Lima, dude. Lima's the IBO world champion. I know in this day and age, depending what part of the world you come from, you don't put much consideration into the IBO title. Lima's only losses to Aaron McKenna. Aaron McKenna is a dog. We got him at 280 plus 285 to beat Beefy Smith in the UK a couple months back. We hit huge on Aaron and the stoppage. Once again, there's a Bomac connection. Before that fight, doing my film study, I shared this with you. I talked to Bomac because we knew that McKenna would go over to the States with his brother and his dad to do training and get sparring. And he said he spent many rounds with the boys at B&B Boxing and said Aaron McKenna is a future world champion. So Lima, the guy who has the IBO belt, who's fighting Jerron for his first fight at 54, his only loss is to Aaron McKenna. It's going to be a good fight. Boxing fan, Osley Iglesias is fighting. Okay, so Henry with the odds. Mobility of French Canadian 1AC. Henry, aren't those odds interesting? I think the average person, does the average boxing fan even know who Lester is? I'm not sure. I know the diehards we do. And to see Mabili, obviously what he looks like, his optic, and how he fights that uppercut in his last fight at only a minus 180. Interesting, right? It's hard. It's hard. It's going to be interesting. I need to really, really sit down with Lester's last, we'll say, 3 fights. You don't with a guy like Lester, a guy who's coming up, who's trending, who is getting his shot. You really don't have to go back too far with their fight study. You know what I mean? Because he's a guy who's leveling up. It's kind of like Brian Norman Jr. When I was telling people going into the Jin Sasaki fight, I was telling them that you don't have to go past Santillan. If you go past Gio with Norman's career, you're going to see a young 20-year-old who's, leveling up. You start with the Gio Santillan fight, watch the Derek Cuevas fight, those two, and you really get to see Norman leveling up. And now what he looked like against Sasaki, if you're unfamiliar with his tape, if the fight with Haney goes down, really, I think Lester, I put Lester in that category. So when you're doing film study on Lester, you don't have to go that deep with his film study. Just watch his last few. Ball, Goodman under 1.5. Etuama White over 4.5. Let's go, Brandon. Ranvar, when is the next Top Rank card? Is he trolling with that? Top Rank is dead. That's what I thought, Boxing, man. I thought Ranvar was messing with us. The history of all Tellers could lose to Barral. Barral's tough. Yenis Tellus versus Barral. That's a tough fight, man. Bro, look at the schedule, boys, in the next 30 days. Look at the fights we got. The Top Rank's not done forever, Ranvar. It's just that they're trying to find a home for their fights. And what I heard from Bob Arum a couple weeks ago is that he wanted to go the route of sort of, nomadic streaming. So, like, this card will put on this streaming service. This card will put on this streaming service. Everything I've heard is Arum is super hesitant to sign a deal of exclusivity, keeping his options open to kind of allow streaming services or bargain or, create deals with each card. We'll see if that works. Fernando Jr. is on the undercard too, like in a tough fight. I saw some of the big American content creators bashing the undercard. Boxing fan, you wild. Top Rank is done until Johnny buys it. Crazy. No way, man. I told you I managed a couple fighters for a few times. I managed a couple pro fighters for about 1.5 years coming out of the pandemic. And from a management perspective, being able to kind of remove the veil and really get to know the business of boxing from a management side, I would never do it again, man. You see, in a span of like 1.5 years, 2 years, I had been, you get lied to so much. People smile at you to your face. People are, wanting your contact lists, telling you one thing, something else happening. Insane. So the idea of even like a thought experiment of buying a promotional company, that sounds horrific to me. Gotta rig the decisions. You guys are wild. It's a thought experiment, I guess. So history says, what if Arum signed with Paramount? I mean, it wouldn't be a bad... I'm just basing off of what Arum said 2 weeks ago. You could pull up that interview on YouTube. He said he wasn't looking to go back into an exclusive deal, meaning that signing over to just one platform. Koki, can't wait till Matias deletes Dalton on November 22nd and makes Eddie regret feeding Smith to Matias. I hope Matias goes, oh, Koki. Oh, Koki, that's so brutal, mate. Koki, you're in timeout for that comment. But I do feel I was high on Dalton Smith until his last fight. I think didn't Dalton fight Matthew Germain from Canada, a kid who was like 35. Matthew Germain, his biggest fight at the time was against, I think, the kid who's fighting Jermaine Ortiz, who also fought Teofimo Lopez. And Dalton was supposed to stop him. Dalton Smith went... I don't think Dalton's the guy Eddie thinks he is, and Dalton Smith is definitely not the guy. I was expecting a super explosive athlete, a guy with a killer instinct, and we didn't see any of that. Maybe he just had a bad fight. Maybe it was an awkward opponent for him, a tricky guy with the Canadian Matthew Germain. But I think you can't be second guessing against Subaru Matias. Matias impressed me. I thought Matias was going to struggle more than he did with Puello, even though I did have Puello up. I did have Alberto Puello up, but the judges didn't agree with me. So we'll see. It's a fun fight all the time. Oh, my man. I like Smith visually more than his resume. Yeah. Yeah, Smith is, and I think, Koki, that's kind of what his promoters see and the fans see, because you watch him train, you watch how he moves, great athlete, explosive. But did you guys see any of that against Matthew Germain? I saw flat feet. I saw hesitation. He seemed disinterested. And we know how, for fighters it's tough to get up for fights. Where was his head? Wasn't that for the was it for the WBC silver? I mean, the fight had implications on it. So it kind of, like, when you look at Teofimo versus damn, why is his name slipping my name? Why is his, god damn it. Claggett. When you look at Teofimo's fight against Claggett, similar. You see Teofimo, a guy what you're expecting so much from, kind of a bit disinterested. And Claggett, I feel, made it a lot closer than it should have been with his constant barrage of pressure. That's why the Claggett versus Jermaine Ortiz fight is interesting to me. The guy that Dalton Smith just fought, Matthew Germain, his biggest fight, I was saying, was against Steve Claggett. They're both Canadians in the past. So Germain was a 6-1 underdog. And everybody was hyping up Dalton. He was going to get this knockout. And, he has a title shot, though. That performance got him a title shot. Do I agree with it? I'm not sure. Do I think Dalton Smith is that dude? I don't know. I'm not sold on him. Am I confident enough to take Dalton Smith to beat Matias? I don't think so. In previous fights, Matias was more of a Venus flytrap against Puello. Matias. Koki, that's where I was most impressed with Matias' adjustment. Am I the only one that wasn't? I did not expect Matias to even have a different layer to his game. And he actually did do that. To read Koki's comment, in previous fights, Matias was more of a Venus flytrap. Against Puello, Matias kept the pressure on the body and forced Puello to clinch a lot. There are a lot of clinches, a lot of headbutts. But, guys, sometimes the clinching and the headbutts, we know there's a fine line between tactically and sort of dirty. You know what I mean? Tactically, yeah, Smith could crack. Smith has more power than Puello. Yeah, Smith has more power. Smith is more explosive than Puello. Smith is more twitchy than Puello. But, I mean, it's kind of an interesting one, because I feel like we might run into the trap of judging Dalton against Matthew Germain and thinking that that's who he really is. But when you watch some of his other fights, he looked a lot different. And I think if Dalton could look at his best against Subaru Matias, he's gonna have a chance to win. We need Dalton versus Adam Azim. Yeah, no one really. Adam Azim really doesn't get the pub. Free membership to Discord coming in hot. Free membership to the Discord coming in hot. Boys, join the Discord. Click the link. It's pinned. Channel's growing. Guys, we're an hour into this. We got all you Discord members, I'm going to post my Dana White Contender Series picks in there right after this. Those fights start in 2 hours. All of you Discord, Johnny Says members also, remember, in the Discord, we have 4 different channels. We have boxing, MMA, parlay slips, where you boys put your parlay slips, and then Johnny's locks. So kind of get comfortable in understanding the maneuverability of the Discord. Some of you guys are DMing me in the Discord, asking me questions, and it just kind of highlights the fact that maybe you're not aware of how it works. So just understand that. Brandon in the house, you'll be a member. We got you. And everybody who isn't able to support the channel that way or become a Discord member, I can't expect everybody to. It's a couple bucks a month, but we're all going through our own shit. So on the YouTube channel as well, give me a day or so. I'm going to be giving you guys my YouTube long parlay for everybody. I'm just waiting for the books to open up on ProBox. And I think I'm going to share on the YouTube as well my upset parlay for the UFC. So this weekend, the UFC has a lot of 2-to-1 fights, a lot of 1-on-1 fights. There's veterans fighting up-and-comers. There's vets versus vets. There's prospects versus prospects. A couple, trajectory fights. So it's going to be interesting. Lurgle, yo, Johnny, I was chatting with Muscles earlier talking about Goodman versus Ball. I'm sure you mentioned already, but do you have it going the distance? What's up, Lurgle? Welcome to the stream. I have Sammy Boy on the money line, but over the last hour on our live stream, I was looking at Method of Victory, and one of the picks that I do like, and I have action on to answer your question, is Goodman versus Ball. Fight to go the distance at $2.23. So I actually have live action on that. It's part of a Method of Victory parlay. Yeah, my bad. I have Ball on the money line on a separate parlay, on a lock parlay. It's a 3-legger. It pays, I think, $1.80. Nick Ball is one of my locks on a money line. But on a separate ticket, Method of Victory, I do have Nick Ball and Sam Goodman to go the distance at $2.23. That value for me is tough to pass up. Brandon, I plan to join yours and Gary's member. Yeah, it's all good, brother. Is the community united on Discord? Yep. So all of the boys, Brandon, that you're seeing with the blue stars here, all the colors, the blue stars, they're all in, that signifies that you're a member of the Discord. Also, you get more accessibility on my YouTube channel and then also on Instagram. Boxing fan, I got the same planet with foot. Nice, Lurgo. And that's the other one, Lurgo. Dude, right now it's hard to pass up Raymond Ford at $3 because I like that. Raymond Ford to win by knockout or TKO, $3.08. It's like, dude, you start watching the tape on Abraham Nova, everything he's saying, he's going to be there to fight. He's not going to fight Ford how Thomas Matisse fought Ford. He's not going to run around. I'm still salty about that Thomas Matisse fight. So, Johnny, what's your thoughts on Ituama? Fight to go over 4.5. Tenny Aladehi, welcome to this chat. It's an interesting one. One of the props I like, Tenny, on that fight is Moses Ituama, knockout or TKO at $1.23. Not the best odds. Now, when you're thinking about the over at 4.5, the one thing you have to keep in mind, Tenny, whatever side you're leaning on, is the fact that Moses has only been he's only been in the 6th round once. I think it was his 3rd pro fight. And then since then, his fights end in the 1st or 2nd, right? This is a 12-rounder. Dillian has been stopped 3 times, has lost 3 times, all by stoppage. So it just depends on how sexy you want to get with those props. Will the fight go the distance? I don't think so. I think that's the safest bet if we're getting Method of Victory here. Will the fight? I don't think it's going the distance. Will Moses win by stoppage? A little bit better odds. Yes. And then will the fight go over 4.5? I think I like that. I think I like over 4. I could see it going to 4. I could see